Hello and welcome to another video, and we're doing the energy weapons from the Civil War PTS. We got both Inner Sphere and Clan additions to this, so let's get into it. First off is the ER lasers for the Inner Sphere. Now this fills out the family that started with the ER large, but now we have the ER medium and the ER small. And interestingly, we can now directly compare them to the Clan version. So we got the Clan, ER small, and medium that we've had in the game for a very long time. We can see that the ER small for the IS side actually has longer range than the Clan version, just all around. Same optimal range of 200 meters, but the Clan version only goes up to 360, while the IS version is still using the ×2 for max of 400. It's the same with the ER medium. While it has a shorter optimal range of 360, it has a longer max range of 720, 360 compared to 405, and 720 versus 688. Now, I would like these to be closer together. I would like there to be a little bit more parity between the different tech trees. I know people disagree with me on this and that certain things should be certain ways, but one of their arguments is that Clan should have longer range. That's one of the arguments that I see a lot of the time when I talk about energy weapons. But this goes the other way around, where now the IS have blatantly longer range. So, what's happening here? I just think these should be addressed. Otherwise, the damage, heat, durations on these, they're fine. Not worried about them at all. Moving on to PPCs for the Inner Sphere, we have three new ones. We have the snub-nose PPC, the light PPC, and the heavy PPC. Now, interesting things about these, the stub nose has no minimum range, but it has a shorter optimal and maximum range. The light PPC is literally a PPC cut in half. It's one less ton overall, like 2 light PPCs and 1 regular PPC has the same damage and same heat approximately, same range, but 1 less ton for the 2 lights. So we'll take that into consideration here. It's basically a PPC cut in half. And the heavy PPC is like a Gauss rifle kind of in energy form. It does 15 damage, 12 of that has pinpoint with 1.5 on each side. It has splash basically just like the ER PPC for the clans. I got no real issues with these PPCs, but something that is annoying about them is the heat scale system. All the PPCs, the snub nose, the regular, the ER, the light, and the heavy, all of them are all linked under the same PPC family with a maximum of 2. So that means even though 2 light PPCs is the exact same damage as 1 regular PPC, they're going to start triggering heat scale beyond that. So where you could fire 2 regulars and get 20 damage at Alpha Strike, no heat scale. If you tried to do 4 lights for 20 damage Alpha Strike, you would get heat scale. It's just another thing with the heat scaling system, the ghost heat system, that is taking something that worked with a small group, and I talked about this in the ballistics video with the Gauss rifles. You have a small group of weapons and you designed a rule for them, and the weapons under that rule all performed very similar. The PPC and the ER PPC, they both had 10 damage, so yeah, they're interchangeable in that sense. But now we have new weapons that have both 5 and 15 damage, but they're under this same rule because the heat scale system is so inflexible. So where you could fire 30 damage worth of heavy PPCs and not get a penalty, you can only fire 10 damage of light PPCs and not get a penalty. Again, people are going to disagree with me, but I still think energy draw system would fix these problems because you could have light PPCs be a lower draw. You could have it so that, say 20 damage at a time was your PPC limit for energy draw system. You could do combinations. You could do a heavy and a light. Or you could do 1 regular PPC and 2 light PPCs. You could make these combos before you hit any heat scaling, that those systems would, like that system would be more make more sense than the current system. Where, yeah, again, the previous system was designed to work around weapons that were basically the same, but now we're adding in different weapons, and they're trying to work under that same system, and it's not going to work well. And people are annoyed by that. Oh, look at PGI, they can't make a game and balance it properly, because look, light PPCs, you have multiple of them, and it's not it's a problem because they're a stupid system. We had a system that was put forward that would fix this problem, but people poo-pawed it. So I'm a little annoyed by that, but I'll stop that rant there and move on to the clan stuff. We have the micro laser and micro pulse laser. I got no problems with these. They're basically tiny little lasers. I almost feel like these weapons are for a mech we don't have yet. Like, mass micro lasers or micro pulse lasers is something I feel like we're going to do on the Fire Moth, if we eventually get it. We're going to eventually get it. They're going to eventually come out with that mech. But I feel like we don't have a mech for these yet. You're going to do like 12 micropulse or something like that on your Nova, stuff like that. But I feel they're really going to shine once we get a really fast light with like 6 to 8 energy weapons. That's going to be cool. But moving on from there, the heavy lasers, and these guys are interesting. They're really high damage, really high heat, relatively high cooldowns, and super long durations. Like, heavy large laser, 1.7 duration. I could write a book during that weapon firing. Like, ER larges, for the clan side, were basically unwieldable at 1.5 seconds. The only mech that ever really did it was like, say, a Hellbringer sitting back a kilometer away, plunking armor on like faction warfare, or a Supernova that had specifically ER large quirks to lower the duration. But now they've reduced it to 1.35, and I'm starting to see ER larges more and more on the field because they're actually usable now. But at 1.7, it's so painful to try to use these heavy large lasers. They take so long to get out there, where your opponent is just going to be like, oh, I have a large pulse laser that is actually relatively close to the range. I mean, it's slightly off, but it's close to the range, and it's like 50% more damage per duration. They're going to large pulse you and then turn away and not care. And the rest of your damage is going to go into a shield arm instead of into their center torso, or actually a useful target. So heavy large lasers, and like all of the heavy lasers, there's problems here. But if you start lowering these durations to say like 1.4, maybe that would be wieldable. Maybe 1. You can't really make 1.3. You start getting too high of a damage per duration. Oh, but then if you just like lower the damage, oh, that would work, and then it would not be as high. But then why do we have this weapon anyway when it's basically the same as the pulse laser? It's just like, get rid of those changes there. I don't know how to balance these. I don't know what to do with heavy lasers. I think they're going to be too long. They're going to be unwieldy. Again, this is another thing that I think the energy draw system would have fixed, because you could have just had these weapons, had 16 damage, 17 heat, and you could have given this a ridiculous duration of like, I don't know, like 1.2. It could have been there. But then you would give it such a high energy draw that you can only wield one of them at a time. You would fire one heavy large laser, and then fire another heavy large laser, and there'd be these like holy shit weapons, but you wouldn't be able to boat them at all, which would fix the problem of people boating these weapons. These individual weapons can't be that good because people will mix weapon systems and boat them. So I don't know. I don't know how to balance heavy large lasers without one more fulcrum point that I can move on. Anything I do here, if I reduce the duration, maybe that gets too much for the damage per duration, so then I reduce the damage. But now the damage is so low compared to the heat, I reduce the heat. but then I want to reduce the cooldown because everything's lower now, but then it just becomes one of the lasers we already have. I don't know what to do besides energy draw, and I know people dislike that, but I still think it's a useful system. But that's going to be it for this video. This was kind of a ranty one, but we're going to go into missiles for the last one. Thanks for watching, and good hunting.